Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the inaugural Virtual Civil Legal Services Career Fair sponsored by the New York State Bar Association Committee on Legal Aid and the New York Legal Services Coalition. My name is Abja Midha, and I am a co-chair of the Committee on Legal Aid and the executive director of Volunteers of Legal Service here in New York City. Today, we have representatives from more than 25 civil legal services organizations from across New York State who are excited to share more about their work and available job openings with all of the participants at the career fair today. Our goal in organizing this career fair was to create and provide a dedicated space for law students, law graduates, and practicing attorneys to connect directly with civil legal services organizations and provide everyone here with the opportunity to learn more about how rewarding it is and what it is like to work as a civil legal services attorney and what opportunities there are to join civil legal services organizations. Before I introduce our featured speaker who will be providing welcoming remarks, just a quick note about the agenda. In addition to visiting tables hosted by the different organizations, at 3 p.m. there will be a panel discussion featuring current civil legal services providers, attorneys who are based in different parts of the state. This panel discussion will be a really great opportunity to learn more about what it is like to work as a civil legal services attorney, and I highly encourage everyone to tune in. I am now honored to introduce our featured guest speaker, the Honorable Edwina Richardson Mendelson, Deputy Chief Administrative Judge for Justice Initiatives at the New York State Unified Court System. In her role, Judge Richardson Mendelson leads a number of initiatives and programs designed to help underrepresented court users access justice. And I'm so happy to say that Judge Richardson Mendelson is a really amazing and true champion of the civil legal services community, and we are so thrilled to have her join us today. With that, I will turn it over to Judge Richardson Mendelson to deliver welcoming remarks. Thank you so much, Judge, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank you for those very, very kind opening remarks. So, hello and welcome to this virtual Civil Legal Services Fair. I'm so excited about this program. And quite frankly, I don't believe there has ever been one like it. For law students, both current and prospective, as well as for the general population of practicing lawyers, there often isn't a lot of readily available information on what a career in civil legal services or in public interest entails. How does one get involved in this type of work? What organizations offer career paths in civil legal services? What should one do while in law school to prepare for a career in the civil legal services realm? This career fair has been organized to help answer such questions and to provide that missing information. Many legal services organizations located all throughout the state of New York have representatives here this afternoon to speak to their experiences and to answer questions about legal services careers. Now, I read the list of participants, and there are far too many of them to name each of them individually, but I'd like to highlight a few of those who closely connect with my office, and this is only a few. First, I think I should briefly describe a bit more about my office, the Office for Justice Initiatives. New York State is unique in having an office like mine, an office where a judicial leader, a deputy chief administrative judge with statewide authority, leading our state's access to justice programming and other endeavors. So, my office, the Office for Justice Initiatives, uh, um, leads our state judiciary's programmatic endeavors in access to justice, in judiciary civil legal services funding, and that is $112 million that is in the court system's budget, directly going to legal services organizations throughout the state so they can do their great and necessary work. My office oversees child welfare and family justice endeavors, youth and emerging adult criminal justice endeavors, and policy and planning, where we support our 340 plus problem solving and accountability courts. Those are our drug courts, our family treatment courts, our mental health courts, our domestic violence and domestic violence intervention courts, veterans treatment courts, human trafficking intervention courts, and more. And I'm going to put in a shameless plug here. Please know that there are many public service interest career opportunities in the courts as well as in the civil legal services arena, but that will be for another career fair. This career fair belongs to civil legal services. So, among the many organizations who are participating today, we have the Center for Elder Law and Justice. And in addition to their wonderful, remarkable work servicing our older, disabled, and low-income neighbors in Western New York, their impact is vast. They have a helpline for any New Yorker needing their assistance. And they've partnered with my office, the Office for Justice Initiatives, to help develop our elder mistreatment self-assessment tool. And they also provide wonderful services in our Erie County Surrogates Help Center and beyond. We have participating today various legal aid societies and legal services organizations. They are in operation throughout our state, and many are participating, as I said today. In my office, we happen to have some proud Legal Aid Society alumni. I myself worked for the civil division of the Legal Aid Society in the Bronx as my first job out of law school. And my chief of staff for the entire office, Michelle Smith, hails from the criminal defense practice of the Legal Aid Society in the Bronx as well. My office works closely with the New York State Attorney Emeritus Program. That is a volunteer program for senior attorneys, and I am a senior attorney these days, for senior attorneys to work in civil legal services offices throughout the state and supervised by these legal services offices in their pro bono work. I serve on the New York State Attorney Emeritus Program Advisory Committee, and their work is supported by an attorney who works in my office from my policy and planning team. Prisoners Legal Services of New York is participating. I mention them because I happen to be a judge of the New York State Court of Claims, and the Prisoners Legal Services of New York often represent incarcerated individuals who have civil claims against the state in their proceedings in that special court. I'm proud to have had the privilege of spending my entire career in public service. And as I mentioned, my first job out of law school was with the Legal Aid Society in my home county, the Bronx, where I was privileged to provide legal representation for community members who could not afford to hire an attorney as they faced the loss of their homes through evictions proceedings in our New York State courts. And I also remembered community members in their home repair cases that deeply impacted their lives, as well as in their benefits and public entitlements hearings before administrative authorities. That was my grounding. That was my root, my first job out of law school. And my first job, not my first job out of law school, but my first job in my area of deep passion, family justice, was with Sanctuary for Families, Center for Battered Women's Legal Services. Now, Sanctuary for Families is now an organization that's very, very vast. Many attorneys working for Sanctuary. They have an impact that is worldwide. But when I began, I was that Sanctuary's first staff attorney. It was me as an attorney, supervised by its executive director. And as their first staff attorney, I was hired to represent those who were victimized by domestic violence in family court cases involving custody and visitation, family offense, child support, and in Supreme Court matrimonial matters. It was amazing work. It was grounding work. It was life-changing work for me, and I hope for my clients. I transitioned from there to a solo practice. I was an attorney, an assigned counsel attorney in our family courts in New York City. And then later on decided to seek appointment as a judge. Now, becoming a judge was not at all what I envisioned for my life or my path at the outset of my legal career. The impetus for becoming a judge was my varied experiences in the civil legal services arena and in public service. The inspiration I received from my clients in that work compelled me to seek a position on the bench. My role as a lawyer and as counselor developed deeply from the time I spent listening to and learning from my clients, digesting their life experiences that they shared with me. And it was a privilege to receive that. It enabled me to best represent them in addressing their many legal concerns. When I first sought a position on the bench as a judge, I tell you, there were not many judges who looked like me. I am a Black woman, and there were not many people who looked like me. And there were not many judges who came from civil legal services backgrounds. And I'm so gratified that that has changed. There are many, many colleagues on the bench today with their roots in civil legal services. I'm happy to report that. My early career experiences in civil legal services provided me with the necessary and practical experiences that I garnered from my time in the family courts, in the housing courts, in the civil courts, and in Supreme Courts of New York State. That work and those experiences inspired me, and it inspired me to hold and value dedication to the fair administration of justice close to my heart. And it served as a springboard for my judicial career, where today I am a statewide leader, joining our new Chief Judge, Rowan Wilson, our new Chief Administrative Judge, Joseph Zayas, and our remarkable leadership team in making our courts the very best they can be for those who are serving in them, and most importantly, for the communities we are privileged to serve. I will end my time speaking with you today with mention of something that's critically important to our work and embeds all of the work that we are doing. And that is my leadership of our state equal justice in the courts endeavors. Those endeavors are our commitment, our efforts to address and to eliminate bias and discrimination and harm wherever they may be found in our courts, with a particular focus on our high volume courts, such as the civil courts, the housing courts, the criminal courts, and the family courts in our state. We have an obligation to increase broad diversity in all of our court system positions, including the bench and our court professional team and our court officers, and to promote, obtain, and maintain easily available important demographics and data, such as our judicial and workforce demographics, as well as to engage in other measures that will enable us to meet our mission of providing true justice for all. So I thank you for attending today, and most importantly, I thank you all for being.
Thank you so much, Judge Richardson Mendelson. We greatly appreciate your welcoming everyone today and for your incredibly impactful remarks on how what an important role civil legal services attorneys play in our state justice system. Um, and on that note, we are going to move into the career fair portion of the day. The tables are open, and we welcome everyone to visit the tables across 3 virtual floors. And those tables will remain open from now until 3 p.m., at which point we will break for the career panel discussion, and then the tables will reopen again at 3:45, and will remain open till 4:45, at which point we'll have brief closing remarks. So hope everyone has the opportunity to meet new organizations, learn about new roles, make new connections, and we look forward to seeing everyone on the main stage again at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Thanks.